Arne Slot, aka the Dutch Lex Luthor, is gone, and he has been replaced by Spanish Doc Ock, from chasing Superman to chasing Spider-Man.
I think the most important thing when I come to a new club is this. When I leave, I hope everyone has good things to say about me. When I come back 10 years later, have still relationship with people inside the club.
Slot had done a good job getting Liverpool their 20th league title, but football moves quickly, and success can disappear just as fast as it arrived. The results on the pitch were terrible, and off the pitch, things looked even worse.
Things in that Liverpool dressing room are not right. The identity's gone.
Add in how much Liverpool had spent, and the leadership concluded that a major reset was needed. The club wants to move away from the slower, possession-heavy approach that defined Slot's second season, and return to something much closer to the aggressive, high-intensity football that made Liverpool one of the most feared teams in Europe. And that search led them directly to Andoni Iraola.
At the end, we have to be an efficient team, I always say, but I think I feel more comfortable if we recover the ball high. We have to attack quicker.
The Basque coach left Bournemouth after giving them the greatest season in their club's history. Under Iraola, the Cherries finished 6th in the Premier League and qualified for European football for the first time ever.
My job, or I came here to change a little bit the style, the way we play, try to be more proactive. We think it will give us more chances, but we have to show it on the pitch.
The results on their own is incredible. But when you look at how Iraola transforms teams, it becomes even more impressive. Throughout his coaching career, Iraola has consistently taken teams with limited resources and made them perform far above expectations. His sides are known for their relentless pressing, aggressive transitions, attacking bravely, and willingness to overwhelm opponents physically. You know, the complete opposite of what slot ball looked like in the second season.
Whenever you start building up from the back, it's really difficult to start from the keeper, play, arrive, find the spaces, go wide, and score the goal.
Yeah.
There are some goals, okay, we can score like this, but most of the goals, the one we scored the other day in Anfield, is the mistake, one pass, we are there.
For Liverpool's decision makers, that philosophy felt a lot closer to the club's identity. Before transforming Bournemouth, he earned a reputation in Spain for getting his teams to perform way above their financial level. His first major breakthrough came with CD Mirandés. When Iraola arrived in the summer of 2019, Mirandés had just been promoted back to Spain's second division. The expectations were quite modest. The goal was realistically just survival. The club operated with one of the smallest budgets in the league and lacked the star power of many of their rivals. Most managers in that situation would focus on being cautious and play more conservative, essentially becoming a side that is very difficult to beat. Yeah, Iraola, he did the complete opposite. From day one, he demanded aggression, intensity, and bravery. His Mirandés side pressed relentlessly, attacked super quickly, and refused to play like a team that was just simply happy to be there. The results were remarkable. Not only did Mirandés comfortably avoid relegation, but they finished 11th in the league and became one of the stories of that season. What really put Iraola on the map though was the Copa del Rey. Mirandés produced one of the most memorable cup runs in modern Spanish football history. Despite being a second division side, they reached the semi-finals for only the second time in the club's entire 92-year existence. Along the way, they knocked out 3 established La Liga teams and did it while playing fearless football. You know, the opposite of Arsenal. First came Celta Vigo, then came Sevilla, then came Villarreal. The victory over Sevilla was incredibly impressive. Managed by Lopetegui, Sevilla arrived as heavy favorites, but Mirandés overwhelmed them with their relentless pressing and rapid transitions. A stunning 3-1 win sent shockwaves through Spanish football and showed just how effective Iraola's methods could be against elite opposition. The quarterfinals against Villarreal was even more dramatic. Mirandés won 4-2 in a very high-energy performance that perfectly captured Iraola's football philosophy. Winger Martín Merkelans was sensational, getting a goal and 3 assists as Mirandés repeatedly punished Villarreal whenever they lost possession. Now eventually their fairy tale ended against La Real in the semi-finals, but by then the damage had already been done. Spain had taken notice. Iraola had taken this modest second division squad and made them believe they could compete with clubs operating on a completely different financial level. More importantly, he showed that his tactical ideas were not dependent on having the best players. Give Iraola a squad that on paper should only finish in the middle of the table, and he'll show you that they can achieve much more. When Andoni Iraola arrived at Rayo Vallecano in 2020, he inherited a club that embodied everything he seemed to love as a coach. Limited resources, low expectations, and a group of players willing to work harder than everyone else. Rayo has always been one of Spanish football's greatest underdog clubs, deeply connected to its working class community and constantly competing against teams with far greater financial power. Iraola immediately changed the trajectory of the club. In his very first season, he guided Rayo back to La Liga through the promotion playoffs, restoring top-flight football to Vallecas. Most people expected them to go straight back down, but Iraola turned what should have been survival into something much bigger. Over the next 2 seasons, Rayo comfortably secured consecutive 12th place finishes despite operating with one of the smallest budgets in the division. More impressively, they did it while playing some of the most aggressive and entertaining football in Spain. This was when the whole footballing world started to pay attention. Iraola's Rayo became one of the most tactically unique teams in Europe. While many clubs with limited resources chose to sit deep and defend, Rayo did the opposite. They pressed non-stop, attacked quickly, and played with a level of intensity that made their opponents uncomfortable. His 2 preferred systems, the 4-2-3-1 and the 4-3-3, were built around creating straight chaos. The objective was to create as many attacking situations as possible. Rayo looked to win the ball high up the pitch, attack immediately, deliver crosses early, and generate a lot of shooting opportunities. On many occasions, they overwhelmed the biggest clubs in Spain.
Because you had a fantastic time, promotion at Vallecano, 2 mid-table finishes, and you beat Real Madrid and Barcelona in one season. That's a massive achievement.
Yes, we had a very good experience there, very good 3 years, especially after promotion. We were kind of the small team there in La Liga.
In October of 2021, Rayo stunned Barcelona with a famous 1-0 win. A year later, in November of 2022, Rayo produced another statement performance by defeating Real Madrid this time. Then came April of 2023, and this time it was Barcelona again. Despite Barca eventually winning La Liga that season, Iraola's side produced another tactical masterclass, defeating them 2-1 through their disciplined defending and devastating transitions whenever possession was won back. By the time he left Vallecas in 2023, he had become a symbol of what modern coaching could achieve even without elite resources. He proved that tactical clarity, fitness, and collective commitment could allow even the modest of clubs to compete with some of the biggest names in European football. More importantly, he demonstrated something that Liverpool's decision makers now find incredibly appealing. Everywhere Iraola goes, the team becomes a sum greater than its parts. When Iraola arrived at Bournemouth in the summer of 2023, he inherited a team that looked nothing like the one that would eventually qualify for Europe.
When I heard about this possibility, I was really thrilled because for me the Premier League always has been like a challenge. I couldn't come here as a player, or I decided not to come because I was really happy where I was playing in Athletic Club, and it was one of the things that I wanted really to try.
Bournemouth had spent years relying on conservative, reactive football under managers such as Scott Parker and Gary O'Neill.
People last year tipped Bournemouth to go down, and the squad and the old manager did a great job to keep them up. Is it that again, or is it we want to finish mid-table or even higher?
The Premier League started, I think we were 3rd, 4th favorite to get relegated. No, in the end the competition is very high in the Premier League.
The transition was not smooth at first. In fact, Bournemouth failed to win any of their first 9 Premier League matches under the new manager. Questions quickly started to emerge about whether his demanding style could work in England. The pressing looked disorganized at times, players struggled with physical requirements, and the results were not arriving. But Iraola never changed course. He believed that the system simply needed more time. As the months passed, the players began to understand the movement patterns, the pressing triggers, and the physical demands required to make the system work. Slowly, Bournemouth transformed from a team hoping to survive into one of the most tactically difficult sides in the entire Premier League. At the heart of that transformation was Iraola's unique pressing system. Unlike traditional man-to-man pressing teams that chase opponents all over the pitch, Bournemouth's press begins in a highly organized shape. The first objective is to block central passing lanes and force opponents towards the touchline. Once the ball reaches a specific area, usually it's when a fullback receives it under pressure or it's a slow sideways pass, Bournemouth suddenly explode forward. That is when the trap is sprung.
It was almost like you wanted to like a trigger, we call it, as soon as the ball goes in there, and then they made the mistake. So it seems like the tactics is starting to take form.
The striker immediately curves his run to block the pass back to the goalie, the nearest winger and midfielder aggressively jump onto their opponents, and the far wide winger tucks inside to maintain compactness and to protect the central areas. All of this happens at once, all together. One of the most fascinating aspects of the system is how aggressive the center backs are allowed to be. If an opposing striker drops deep to help build attacks, Iraola often instructs his defenders to follow them far into the midfield. Now this is a risky approach that leaves space behind the defensive line, but it also prevents opponents from turning comfortably and just playing forward. By the 2024-2025 season, Bournemouth were one of the best teams in the Premier League when it came to pressing. They forced more dangerous turnovers than almost anyone else, disrupted the opponent's build-up more effectively than most of the league, and consistently created scoring opportunities directly from high recoveries. In the 2024-2025 season, Iraola had gotten the best out of all of these managers: Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, Ange Postecoglou, but I guess that's a free win, Ruben Amorim, again that's still a free win but still, and Eddie Howe. Bournemouth's performance against City in that season in particular showed exactly what Iraola wanted a side to look like. Not only did they end City's 32-game unbeaten run in the Premier League, but they completely outran them. Even Pep said in his post-match press conference that they just could not match the intensity of Iraola ball.
We could not match up his intensity, all the situation long balls, we could not win it. And when you don't win this type of balls to Semenyo or central defenders, strikers, after you had to defend deeper, we struggled to make our build-up, but especially for that, the rhythm that they put in the game, for many reasons they were higher than us and we could not handle it.
That's what Iraola sides do. They press you and they consistently outrun you, which is great for Liverpool fans because in Arne Slot's last season, they were consistently ranked at the lowest ends when it came to running and distance covered. They don't hold the ball a lot. In fact, they're at the bottom when it comes to average possession. Yet despite not having the ball that much, they're at the top in expected goals, shots on target per match. Then defensively, they are also one of the best teams in the league. During the 2025-2026 campaign, Bournemouth maintained an average PPDA of around 9, one of the strongest pressing numbers in the entire league. PPDA stands for passes per defensive action. It's an advanced football stat that quantifies a team's pressing intensity. It measures how many passes the opposition is allowed to complete in the attacking and middle thirds before the defending team intervenes with a defensive action. In very simple terms, Iraola sides don't let the opponent put too many passes together before they win it back. For Liverpool's decision makers, these numbers mattered a lot because when they watched Iraola's Bournemouth, they saw many of the same principles that once made Klopp's Liverpool so feared. The same principles that Slot's Liverpool used in 2025 to win the league. The big difference though is that Iraola achieved those numbers with a Bournemouth squad assembled for a fraction of the cost of Liverpool's entire team. At Liverpool, Iraola is going to have to deal with a lot of key players leaving, but don't worry, he has plenty of experience with that during his time at Bournemouth. Following Bournemouth's rise up the Premier League table, Europe's biggest clubs, they came shopping. One by one, the foundations of Iraola's teams were stripped away. Semenyo left for Manchester City, Zabarni moved to PSG, Dean Housen joined Real Madrid, Milos Kerkez was sold to Liverpool, while Dango Ouattara departed for Brentford. Fun fact, most of these guys struggled outside of Bournemouth. In total, the Cherries generated more than 310 million euros in transfer sales. For most clubs operating outside the traditional Premier League elite, losing 5 key starters in such a short period of time would trigger a complete collapse. You would see years of progress just disappear overnight. Everyone expected Bournemouth to take a step backward, yet somehow Iraola made them even better. Working closely with the recruitment department, Bournemouth aggressively targeted younger players with high potential rather than established stars. The club brought in talent such as Bafode Diakite, Petrovic, Ryan, Ben Doak, Amine Adli, and Adrian Truffert. Most of these players arrived with potential rather than certainty, yet in a few months, they were already fully accustomed to Iraola's system. This is what made the season so impressive. The tactical structure never changed. The pressing remained aggressive. The counterattacks remained devastating. And the physical intensity remained among the highest in the league. New players arrived and immediately understood their roles because the system itself was doing much of the work. Rather than relying on specific individuals, Bournemouth had become a machine. And the results reflected that. Despite losing the core of their previous squad, Bournemouth finished 6th in the Premier League and secured qualification for the Europa League, the greatest achievement in the club's history. For the Liverpool owners, this season might have been one of the most convincing parts of Iraola's resume. Anybody can look good when everything is stable. The truly elite managers are the ones who can lose their best players, rebuild on the fly, integrate new signings, and still improve. That's exactly what Iraola accomplished. His final season at Bournemouth proved that his success was not built around one generation of players. It was built around a tactical framework, a culture, and a coaching methodology that consistently elevated whoever stepped onto the pitch. And that may be the biggest reason Liverpool believe he's the right man to rebuild a squad that had lost its way. There are a handful of matches that really capture what Iraola ball is supposed to look like at its peak. The first statement came in December of 2023 at Old Trafford. Facing United away from home had never been easy for Bournemouth. At the time, they had never won there before. Under Iraola, that changed. Rather than trying to dominate possession, Bournemouth remained patient and disciplined. They allowed United to move the ball in harmless areas before springing forward aggressively whenever the possession entered the midfield. Their press was perfectly timed and their transitions were ruthless.
Cook though down the right side of the penalty. No ball into Solanke, and Bournemouth have stolen in front. Lewis Cook stole the ball, drove it across, and Solanke stroked it in to the left side. And Tavernier, Phil Billing at the back post is unmarked. The ball in towards Billing, who heads it in, and Bournemouth all of a sudden have a 2-goal lead at Old Trafford. Carries once again from this near side, goes deeper this time, and powered in for a third Bournemouth goal by Senesi, his second goal.
The final score was 3-0. For many people, it was the first time Bournemouth truly looked like an Iraola team. Then came another trip to Old Trafford in December of 2024. Man, these guys love spanking United. Many people viewed the previous win as a one-off result. Iraiola's team made sure nobody could say that again. This time they produced another 3-0 demolition of United, this time managed by Ruben Amorim. This performance was even more impressive because Bournemouth looked completely in control throughout. Dean Housen opened the scoring with a header before Justin Kluivert converted a penalty. Semenyo then finished off a devastating counterattack to complete another win. Then you have their performance versus Arsenal in the 2026 season. Rather than going into a straight pressing battle from the opening whistle, Bournemouth showed a level of tactical maturity that has become a trademark of Iraiola's later teams. You know, once he's had more time to instill his philosophy. The Cherries remained compact and disciplined. They allowed Arsenal center backs to just circulate possession in harmless areas while carefully blocking the passes that mattered the most. Out of possession, Bournemouth's 4-2-3-1 shape was incredibly organized. Their midfield remained narrow and compact, making life extremely difficult for Declan Rice and Zubamendi to dictate play. Whenever Arsenal lost possession, Bournemouth immediately attacked the central spaces before the Gunners could even reorganize. The opening goal perfectly captured the plan.
Clever ball, Truffert, and Krupi. Bournemouth strike first at the home of the would-be champions.
Even after Arsenal equalized from the penalty spot, Bournemouth never abandoned their approach. Many smaller teams would have retreated and settled for a point. Hell, I've seen Arsenal do the same thing and they're a big team. Iraola's side instead kept attacking.
Touch for Alex Scott, who buries it. Sharp intake of breath right around the Emirates.
The result was impressive, but the performance was even more impressive. For Liverpool supporters watching from afar, matches like the Arsenal win felt very familiar. The intensity, the aggression, the fast transitions, the willingness to attack bigger teams without fear. Those are the foundations Iraola built at Bournemouth, and they're the exact qualities Liverpool believe can revive a squad that has lost its edge. Now, Iraola might just be the right guy to actually get the best out of someone like Florian Wirtz. To see just how good the German can be, you have to watch this video right here.